Hello everyone, this is Chad Weibel, and for my first screencast I will be reviewing the still media manipulator that is Gimp. Gimp is a free tool that you can get online, and I find it to be incredibly useful in a lot of things that I do. For this particular screencast, what I will be doing is I will be using it to work on the blog post mini art design that I have for this week in the White Space is Not Your Enemy book, where I will be making a menu using this program. So the first step of making anything new is creating a new image. Now in here you have a ability to choose your canvas size, whether you orient it with portrait or landscape in pixels, inches, millimeters, points, etc. In this particular case, I want to use inches because the size of this menu is going to be 11 inches tall and 4.25 inches with each page, but there's going to be three of them. There's going to be cover and two insides. So overall, I want that to be 12.75 inches so that I now have a blank canvas to work on. Now, in here, this can be a little bit intimidating for new users. So some of the features that are going to be handy, everything that you need is over here on the toolbar. And this is where any tool that you need, any image manipulator that you need is going to be over here. So in this case, because I'm making a menu, but it's going to be a folding menu, right? There's three parts to it. So I want to start by making a line. Now, if there is one thing I have to say about Gimp that is negative, it is Gimp is terrible at making lines. It is very non-intuitive in order to do so. Now, for the purposes, this tool here allows you to draw paths. And by changing how you draw them, you can create curves and connect them up. Now, this being said, this is just a path. This is not actually a line. In order to make it a line, you have to go over here, double click, and actually tell it to stroke the path with a solid color or a pattern, etc. So for the purposes of this, you can see if I stroke it, then bam, I have this line. Now this is not the line I actually want, so let me use Control-Z to undo everything quickly. What I actually want is something that is at 4.25 inches, which is going to be, you can see down in this corner where it says what position you're actually at. So 4.25 is going to be right there. And then on the bottom, 4.25 is going to be right there. And I now have this path, which I can tell it to make a stroke for it. Now, earlier that was 6 pixels. That seemed a bit excessive. I'm going to go with 2 pixels. Right? And there I have a straight vertical line. Now, in regards to this, I no longer need that tool. I need to make another line. So first step for this is I want to say if this is the thing I want to copy, then I want to select. So there are a couple of select tools up here. I'm going to use the rectangular select tool and select this whole thing, copy, and paste. Now, you may have noticed that a little icon popped up over here. This particular box is called the layer box. And honestly, this is one of the things that once you learn how to use layers, everything in Gimp is going to get 10 times easier. Because if you mess something up, you will not have to worry about it affecting anything else. So here, because I pasted something, I have a floating layer that I can mess around with. So let's grab my move tool and move this to the place I want it to be. So I want this to be at 8.5, right, good enough. And this will allow me to actually put it in. Now, the moment that I clicked somewhere else, you may have seen that this layer went away. That is because it now merged. So for this, this is now known as the background layer. Now, if I want to do anything else with this setup, I might want to use a different layer so that if I, for instance, accidentally try to, say, draw a line then it's not going to be on top of this setup. Because what will actually happen is if I make a new layer, so new layer, where I want it to be exactly the same as the old one, but transparent. You can see this one has the checkerboard, which says that you can see right through it. And I can draw those same things. But since this is not in the same layer, you can actually see how this is this mark in an otherwise invisible thing. I can turn this off and the bottom layer, the background, will still be there. So if I mess up, I only mess up one layer at a time. I'm not messing up everything. Now, for the purposes of this, I want to have a general layout of a menu. Now, let's say that I want to do a pizza menu. A pizza menu is something that I might want a paint tool. So pizza menu, pizza is orange and green and yellow. So let's grab something that has a suggestive pizza-like color, but let's make it a light hue so it doesn't get in the way. And this will just be a background color for the whole menu. So by clicking anywhere, oops, looks like I am still in my previous layer. I want this on my background layer, so let's put it in here. Right? Now I have my background along with my original lines. So let's move back to my background, my new layer, in order to mess around with some decorative aspects. So right now I basically have a yellow piece of paper with two flat lines. I don't just want this. I want to actually have something to decorate it. So for this, I might pull over here an example of some decorative dingbats, which I pulled earlier in order to have. Now, in these particular things, I can scroll through these and, oops, undo that. There we go. No. Looks like if I want to move these properly, I want to have them selected. So I like these two right over here. And I think that I will be using that as a dividing line. So let's remove those and make a new layer. Or actually, oops, there we go. Have to be in the right layer to remove them properly. And put them in this layer instead. All right, so now I've got these in a different layer. And since I don't need the rest of these, I can delete that layer, leaving me with just this nice decal that I particularly like. And I'm going to take this and I'm going to see if I can move them right across here where they will frame the inside of my menu fold, allowing me to have the idea of this page divider where you have on the top is perhaps appetizers and on the bottom is, well, since this is a pizza menu, perhaps actually something that makes more sense is breadsticks and pasta and then pizza on the bottom. I'll make up my mind about those later. That will not be part of this screencast. But what will be part of this screencast is I have another dingbat decal, because I want another decoration, is this one over here. All right, so I pull this in. Notice it makes a new layer over here for this. Now, in this layer, I don't want most of these. I like this one right over here. So I'm going to, actually I'm going to zoom in a little bit so that I can actually select this thing accurately, because this is pretty lined up with the rest of them. And I'm just going to select that and remove it from this layer and pop it into, let's say, a new layer. We'll call this one corner decal. All right, zoom back out. So, okay, post. All right, and I can pop this down in that little corner over there. Now, I no longer need this. Oh, sorry. Because this is currently floating, it will continue there until I move out of it. I no longer need this layer, so I can delete that layer. and I no longer need that layer, so I can delete it too. And I'm just going to take a look at this corner decal. Now, let's say that I like this corner decal, and I'm going to put it in this bottom corner, but I don't like... seems that I'm moving everything right now. I only want to move the decal itself. There we go. Make sure that I'm at the way bottom of the page. Now, let's say that I wanted this to be reflected across in this corner as well. Right? It does me no good if I just have this in this corner and then this corner over here, because keep in mind that these two panels will be making up the inside of my menu. So it doesn't really work if I have a corner here and a corner here. That ruins the symmetry. So in order to go about that, what I might say is, first of all, let's create a copy and a second image, which I can move over here. And it looks like I actually want that to be in a new layer, so that I can mess around with this one and not the other one. And that's another issue with Gimp, is sometimes it's really easy to select your background layer by accident when you're trying to move things. So now that I have this, I want this one to go here. So in order to do this, I have a number of tools here. I can, first of all, I can resize it. I can shift it around, but this is the one here that I want, flip. Right? So by flipping it, it is now backwards, and I can move it exactly to where I want it to be, which is right here. So this is not the entire menu. I'm going to be doing some other work on it outside of this screencast, but this is the end of this screencast. Overall, I would include that this is a very useful tool. It allows you to do a lot of things. However, it is not intuitive for beginners, and there are certain aspects of it that are really tricky to figure out. However, once you figure those aspects out, those tricky things, you will be able to make excellent use of this program in order to do whatever it is that you're looking to get done. I'll see you in my next screencast.